City terror suspect reportedly worshipped apparently had been on police radar since 2005. NYPD officers were conducting an anti-terror surveillance operation for over a decade. That was eventually shut down by Democrats and liberal activists. Here to react is security analyst David Katz. David, thank you for joining us this morning. Do you think that these places should be surveilled?
Without question. There is no reason to limit investigative techniques once you cross the curtilage of a mosque or a church or a synagogue or any religious institution. The best parallel I can think about is, would progressives and liberals complain if the Church of the Creator, Matthew Hale's place, if they were under surveillance, which they were, with undercover operatives inside? No one would complain about that. In this case, what happened with this limitation placed on surveillance, you've allowed a safe haven where you can't touch it. You can't go in, you can't send informants in. So that is insane. That's got to stop. It makes no logical sense.
You know, one of the headlines from NBC News on Tuesday night was Muslim Americans again brace for backlash after New York attack. And they're saying again because, you know, the surveillance was going on for about a decade and that was put to an end. When that happened, when that was put to an end, what was your reaction?
It just, again, is political correctness run amok. Why? There is no constitutional prohibition against conducting an investigation. If your investigation leads you to believe that you have individuals meeting at a particular house of worship and they are either discussing attacks or being radicalized, what is the issue? What is the problem with sending in anyone, undercover operatives or agents, to at least see what's going on?
A lot of people would argue. Now, there are innocent civilians who every day are going into these places of worship, going into these mosques, and they're just, you know, trying to go about their daily life. Why should they be surveilled? Your reaction to a statement like that?
People are not intentionally impacted by surveillance every single day. You are on the street corner, there's a surveillance camera. If you're not involved in any criminal activity and you have an undercover operative or informant simply sitting in a pew listening to, let's say, a radicalizing sermon, how are they impacted? They're not impacted in the slightest. However, you do have an opportunity to put law enforcement and intelligence agents in contact with people who may be plotting these kind of attacks. We don't know if this attack was discussed or even approved of or suggested by the people in this mosque. We don't know that. Why? Because we don't have surveillance there.
Look, it's a new day in the war on terror right now. I mean, we're seeing things at this point in time with these truck attacks that we haven't seen in this country yet up until this point. A lot of people, including President Trump, are saying the political correctness has to end. Has to end now. Do you agree?
Anyone who thinks otherwise is allowing ideology to take over intellect and reason. In this guy, Saipov, his whole immigration chain should be yanked. In other words, anyone who came with him, who's connected to him with respect to coming to this country, they need to have their status revoked and out, because it's enough. It's enough. These kind of attacks cannot be stopped. Why? Because you cannot protect. You can't put bollards and barricades on every street corner, on every sidewalk in the United States. Can't. But what you can do is start injecting some sanity into our investigative policies and immigration policies.
And it seems like we're watched all the time. I mean, there are cameras on so many corners. You know, there's surveillance going on all over the place. But at this point, people are saying this is a battle between your civil rights and the tactics that the police need to use in order to keep us safe.
What is the impact on civil rights with someone going into a mosque, for example, if an informant says, look, we have some people in there who are getting together plotting an attack? How is that an impact negatively on your civil rights?
Yeah, well, it's a question a lot of people are asking at this point. David, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
My pleasure.